going on, Blossoms back, and welcome back to another episode of Solid Drives. Today I'm going to do a what can you get from that pack, but this is going to be the beginner's edition. So we're not going to be covering the Great Exhibition 2010 Carbon Fiber, no. We're going to be covering the Great Exhibition 2010 Premium. Now, Hutch was kind enough to release 10 of these unique packs for all of us to open, and everybody can open it as long as you have 42 cash or 420k if you want to open all 10. So today I'm going to be reviewing this pack, telling you what you can get, and we're only going to be reviewing the super rares and the ultra rares, hence why it's called the beginner's guide. But before we get into that, let's open a couple of these packs and just see what we can get. So the first one, let's see what we get. We got a little bit of cash on hand, so I might open 2 or 3. We'll see. I'm very frugal with my cash, but I mean everybody knows this already. Volkswagen up. So this is where we get the we don't even get the GE rares. We only get a GE super rare. So let's see. We start off with Jaguar E-Pace. To be fair, that is actually a pretty decent super rare. Let's go for another one and see what it is. I opened one of these on my second account, and I ended up getting a Bentley Mulsanne RQ63, the butter car as I like to call it. That was pretty cool. Double super? Okay, Jaguar E-Pace. Now this is pretty cool because we're not guaranteed to get another GE car after this. This could be a legendary Lamborghini for all I care about, because we've already gotten what we've been promised, which is a GE 2010 super rare. So let's see what's next. All right, there you go. It ain't GE, but it's still GB. Let's do one more. We'll do one more, you know, just casually spending 120k here. But let's see what we get from this one over here. So, is it 120? Yeah, I think it's 120k, isn't it? Corrado, because it's 42 times 3 or whatever. Peugeot 605, and the last one is going to be a Vauxhall Astra VXR. So nothing too special, just a bunch of super rares. Now let's get into reviewing the pack. Here we are, guys. Super simple. Only about 27 cars. We're only going to be covering super rares and ultra rares, and they're going to be 4 different ranks: priority 1 all the way to priority 4. Now, once again, disclaimer, this is going to be my opinion and how I would deal with the pack if I was a beginner. A couple things to take note when I'm going into this video. As this is a beginner's guide, I'm making this video usually for the novice player or the newer players, so I'm going to take all your elements into account. I get that you don't have a lot of garage slots. If you don't have a lot of garage slots, you can't keep a lot of cars. When you can't keep a lot of cars, you gotta be really cutthroat. So you really only keep the best and get rid of anything that isn't absolutely amazing. So with that taken into account, I mean, if you were an intermediate player or an advanced player watching this, at this point, you probably would have at least 85% to about 95% or to about 100% of every car in here. So for the novice player, like I said, disclaimer, we're going to be super cutthroat. I'm going to be telling you the best of the best, and anything that doesn't make the cut is going to be below priority 1. So let's get into it, starting this off with the Bentley Mulsanne Grand Limousine. This is going to be priority 3. Now, this Bentley limousine, this Mulsanne Grand Limousine, is one of those cars where the community like to, you know, praise, but I personally do not like it. I just don't see the appeal in this incredibly heavy car that doesn't handle. Yes, I know it is medium. Yes, I know it has a high top speed, but at the end of the day, it doesn't have a really good 0 to 60. It's going to lose in the drag settings to the Miura, to the Corvette ZR2, and it's going to lose in the test bowl to cars like the Superbird or, of course, the convertible Miura, the Miura Roadster. So for RQ49, this is the most expensive RQ you can get for a super rare. You're not even getting the car that is best in about anything. So in my opinion, I don't think it's a great car. It's not absolutely the worst, but definitely you're getting a heavy car that can't turn, that is like second best in anything that is known for, which is, you know, the long straights. So unfortunately, in my opinion, it's priority 3. If you are a newer player, I wouldn't keep it around. Next one is the Jaguar E-Pace. The Jaguar E-Pace is actually really good. It's really cheap in RQ. It's on the lower scale of super rares at RQ41. It has 4-wheel drive, it has standard tires, high ground clearance, and it handles pretty well for RQ41. When you think about it, it only has 2 handling less than the limousine, which is 8 RQ more. Now I get it, you know, I shouldn't be comparing both of these cars in the same space because they race in different categories, but I digress. The E-Pace does handle pretty well for its RQ and for its niche, which is 4-wheel drive standard tire cars. Next up on the list is the Jaguar XK convertible, and this one, once again, I'm going to put into priority 3. You know, it's a bit of an all-rounder, but it kind of misses the mark in all of its strengths. It handles pretty well, but just not as good as the Lotus Elise, or basically any Lotus for that matter. 0 to 60 is relatively low, but the top speed isn't very high and the MRA isn't very good. It is a convertible, so it has that niche. It isn't a completely useless car, but it's something that you want to use in very small situations. There are going to be very little situations where the Jaguar XK convertible is going to be key, so because of that, I'm putting it in priority 3. Next up on the list is the Land Rover Discovery 5, and once again, I'm also going to put it in priority 3. Like I said, I am being very cutthroat because I am in the minds of a newer player, and for a newer player, like I said already many times, you probably don't have a lot of slots, so you want to prioritize the best cars that you can get. So the Land Rover Discovery 5, what do I have to say about this? The 0 to 60 on this for a 4-wheel drive all-surface tire car is quite respectable, and the top speed isn't the lowest thing in the world. It's obviously going to be a lot faster than the 4-wheel drive off-road tire Super Rares that are also 4-wheel drive. I already said 4-wheel drive. The problem with the Discovery 5 is that it doesn't really handle 70 handling. You can get cars like the Mitsubishi, which can hit 85 handling, which means stock they're around 77. There are a bunch of Nissan Qashqais and X-Trails that just handle a lot better, and when it comes to the off-road sector, you want cars that are capable to handle. Unfortunately, the Land Rover Discovery 5 just misses the mark. It's not priority 4 because the 0 to 60 is okay for its niche. Next up on the list is the Lotus Elise Sprint. Now this one is a priority 1. This is a car that you don't want to have one of. You want to have maybe 3, 4, 5. It's an absolutely fantastic car. I would rather have 5 Lotus Elise Sprints over 1 Jaguar XJ, because that means I would have to max 5. I would rather max 5 Lotus Elise Sprints over 1 max Jaguar XK convertible, sorry. I mean, in my garage right now, I have 4 max Lotus Elise Sprints and 0 Jags and 0 Bentley Mulsanne Grand Limousine. So that kind of speaks for itself. The Lotus Elise Sprint is absolutely fantastic, incredibly light, handles really well. The 0 to 60 is weak, to be fair, but it really doesn't matter because it's a twisty car. Next up on the list is the Range Rover Evoque. I'm going to put that in priority 2. You're getting a car that's a little cheaper in RQ compared to Discovery 5, but handles a little better. That being said, it has no 0 to 60, but at the end of the day, I really skew a bias towards handling when it comes to off-road, because it's been proven to me time and time again that handling is what matters the most in most off-road tracks, unless it's a hill climb or an off-road drag. Next up on the list is the Vauxhall Astra VXR. That's going to be a priority 2. You're getting a car that handles relatively well, not as good as some of the other Renaults and the French cars in the game, but it is capable of hitting 89. It has a relatively low 0 to 60, decent top speed for a front-wheel drive hatchback, and it is medium ground clearance. This is a car that actually personally helped me through the Yellowbird, so that will mean that it will probably help you throughout the Yellowbird as well. So it is actually a pretty decent car. I would put it into priority 2. It's not a must keep like the Elise or the E-Pace, and that's why it's not in priority 1. Next up on the list is the Vauxhall Insignia Grand Sport. This one personally I'm going to put into priority 1. You are getting a medium ground clearance standard tire car that is capable of hitting 86 handling. Now that is really good. I love cars that can handle and have standard tires or off-road tires or anything besides performance tires. I mean, honestly, I like cars that can handle full stop. And the Vauxhall Insignia is a fantastic car. Not only is it pretty cheap in RQ, like I said, it handles well and it has medium ground clearance. Also, it has the estate niche, which is a niche that I feel like will be utilized more by Hutch when the game progresses. Now we move on to the ultra rares. The first one is going to be the Aston Martin Rapide. Now the Aston Martin Rapide is going to be priority 2. It's a decent saloon that handles pretty well in the low 0 to 60, but the MRA isn't very strong and it is pretty heavy. I wouldn't say incredibly heavy, but it is pretty heavy. Next up on the list is the Bertone Jet. Once again, it's going to be, it's the same car with the Rapide. So, 47, 47, 188, 188, 83, 83. So both of them, they're going to go hand in hand in priority 2. Next up is the Aston Martin Rapide S. This is going to be priority 1. Now that is a really good car. It handles just a little better, and the 0 to 60 is just a little lower, and the top speed is just a little higher. One of the best, I guess, GE Saloon Ultra Rares. Well, it is the best GE Saloon Ultra Rare. One of the best British saloons in the game. The Aston Martin Rapide S is a really good ultra rare. I would put it in priority 1. Next up on the list is the Aston Martin Virage Volante. This is going to be priority 3. Now, I said this in yesterday's video that the Virage Volante is a car that I want to really emphasize its strengths and build upon its strengths, and that is the incredibly low 0 to 60 that it has. That being said though, it has no MRA, and really it doesn't have as good of a handling as some of the other Aston Martins. When you see the other ones are 83, 83, 84, this one's 79, which is a bit of a shame. It's the same handling as, you know, this super rare Jaguar XK convertible. So this car, I would say the Veloce Volante is kind of like an all-rounder that misses the mark all over the place, kind of like the Jag. So both of them are in the same priority ranking. Now, next up on the list is the Bentley Grand Convertible. Once again, I'm going to put it into priority 3. It is a convertible, it is medium. Those are the two niches that it holds, but outside of that, it doesn't handle very well. It's incredibly heavy, it can't turn. The 0 to 60 is relatively low, but it's not the lowest. The top speed is high, but it's still not going to win the test bowl in the ultra rare category as long as the purple Countach or the Thanos Countach and the roof BTR exist. Also, the Aston Martin V12 or the Aston Martin Rapide S. I mean, the Aston Martin Rapide S, I'm actually not sure who would win here, the Grand Convertible or the Rapide S. Let me know if you know the answer, because I don't own the Grand Convertible. I hate it, but I do own the Rapide S. That's a pretty good car. Now, next up on the list is going to be the Bentley Mulsanne. The Bentley Mulsanne, I would have to put it in priority 3 once again. Medium ground clearance, it handles a little better than the Grand Convertible, so that's a huge plus, but at the end of the day, Bentleys are Bentleys. They're incredibly heavy, they don't turn. I mean, what are you doing? Next up is the Blue Train. Now, the Blue Train, I would have to put it up. The Blue Train, just because it's just like the Alpha Bentley in the ultra rare categories. 0 to 60, just a little lower. The handling, just a little higher. It still carries the same, I guess, the only positive when it comes to most ultra rare Bentleys, and that they are medium ground clearance and that they're saloons. Next up on the list is the Design Series. Once again, priority 3. It's the exact same car as the Bentley Mulsanne. 5.1, 5.1, 80, and 80, so they're going to get the same exact tier. Next up on the list is going to be the Bentley Mulsanne Extended Wheelbase, and that's also going to be priority 3. It is incredibly heavy. The 0 to 60 is also incredibly weak, but I just don't think that it deserves to be the absolute worst car. 78, there are actually worse Bentleys out there, but they're not in this category per se. There are Bentleys out there with 76 handling. I think it's the Arnage. Those are absolute hot garbage. Next up on the list is the car I like to call Butter, and once again, it's the same exact car to the Blue Train, so they're going to get the same exact tier. The Bentley Mulsanne Walter Owen edition, that's going to be priority 4. That is hot garbage. Like I said, I've said this so many times, that car is the opposite, the polar opposite of the sleeper tag. You think it's going to do well, and it's just going to fail you. Next up is the Jaguar XJ 5.0 V8. I'm a huge fan of this car. Personally, if I was going to put my bias first, I would put it in priority 1, but unfortunately, I'm not putting my bias first, so I'm putting it in priority 2. It handles pretty well. The 0 to 60 is low. I mean, I have this baby maxed out. It has like 4.5, 0 to 60, something like that. So it's actually really good. Medium ground clearance, standard tires, and I tend to use it quite a bit. The only thing that is keeping it from a priority 1, I guess, is that it lacks 4-wheel drive. But let's be honest, if that car was 4-wheel drive, it would also be epic, and it'd be a pretty decent epic, to be fair. Now, next up on the list is the Land Rover Discovery SI4. Now, the Land Rover Discovery SI4 is indeed priority 4. I mean, it's hot garbage. Not only is it the worst Land Rover in this list, it's also worse than the P250, I believe. I believe it's named the P250. It's the red round one that looks like a tomato almost. I know that that's one of the best ultra rare Land Rovers in the game. You can't get it in this pack though, because that's a 2020 model. But yeah, this thing is just a bit sad in all accounts. 0 to 60 is weak. Handling is bad. I know it has 4-wheel drive and all-surface tires, but when you think about it, it basically is the same car to the Discovery 5, but just a little, like 1 second faster to 60. But you know, at the end of the day, handling is key when it comes to off-road. Next up is the Opel Adam R2. That's going to be priority 1. Absolutely beast of a car. One of the best front-wheel drive off-roaders in the game. Priority 1 for sure. The Opel OPC Extreme is going to join it as well in priority 1. Not only is it lightweight, it handles really well. It's one of the best handling German cars in the entire game. I know it's German, but it is still great exhibition, so you can get it from this pack. It's a German car among British cars. It's the same for the Opel Adam R2 actually. Both of them are fantastic. They both handle really well. They're both lightweight. One's a twisty niche, one's an off-road twisty niche. So one's an on-road twisty niche, and the other one's an off-road twisty niche. There you go. Next up is the Land Rover Evoque. That's going to be a priority 3, and that's going to be the same for the Range Rover Sport, and the Range Rover Velar is actually going to be priority 2. The Velar, I would say, is incredibly heavy, but it handles a little better than the rest of the Land Rovers in this pack. The 0 to 60 is a little lower than, you know, most of the Land Rovers in this pack, and you know, that's why it deserves priority 2. The RQ61 just doesn't handle as well as a 60 as I guess this one. Actually, now thinking about it, They're both kind of similar, aren't they? 71, 72, 6.4, 6.8. I'm going to put both of them in priority 2. They're not the best cars, so I'm not going to put them in priority 1, but they're definitely better than the other Range Rovers in this collection. Last but not least is the Range Rover P400e PHEV. That's going to be priority 4. Now, I know the 0 to 60 on this is low, but I know for a fact that the Range Rover P400e has like trash. It has like dog water 0 to 60. I'm not dog water 0 to 60, dog water MRA, right? And also the handling, come on, 69? I mean, it's a nice number, but that is just sad. The 0 to 60 isn't good enough as well. It's not going to be the ultra reincarnation of the Range Rover V8 that we see in the epic ranks, because the 0 to 60 isn't good, the MRA isn't good, the top speed isn't high, and the handling, I mean, if you're gonna have handling like that, you're gonna need to have, you know, a really high pedigree in like drag spec cars, like in a drag setting, which means you need like a low 0 to 60 or high top speed or good MRA, which is something that the P400e PHEV just doesn't have. So unfortunately, this is going to be my entire list. Let me know if you agree with me or not. I feel like a part of me really wants to put these two Rovers in priority 3. I just cannot see them in priority 2. That's the thing. I feel like it just feels right to have these 3 Rovers in priority 3, because at the end of the day, in the grand scheme of things, all 3 of those Rovers pale in comparison to their Japanese counterparts in the twisties and their American counterparts in the drags. I think I'm going to switch them to priority 3. I cannot wait for all the comments to be like, oh Blossom, I disagree, you should put them in priority 3, because some people just don't watch the entire video. I've had so many comments from yesterday's video saying, Blossom, I would have 996 the Bentayga. Here, if you watched the entire video, you would have known that at the end, I would have moved it down to 996. But some people just don't do that, and it makes me very sad. But anyway, before we end the video, let's open a little bit more of those premiums. Guys, we're back in my account here, and let's just continue to open a bit more of these. Now, some of you might be asking, why didn't you rank the epics or the legendaries? Once again, this is a beginner's guide, so if you get an epic or a legendary, yeah, keep it. Keep it. Let's see what we get. E-Pace, once again, we have now gotten 3 E-Paces out of 4 packs. What's next? Hey, okay, there you go. That's actually a pretty decent super rare. So I'll take that. All right, let's go with another one. Why not? Let's just go down to about 17 mil flat. Let's go 17 mil flat. Let's see what we get from this one. All right, the Maserati Sebring, the Mark II. I mean, these all don't really matter. Can we get an ultra rare? That's the question. Can we get an ultra rare? No. We get another Vauxhall Astra. It seems to me that we can't even get a Lotus Elise Sprint, which is something that I would love to get. But let's see what we get from this one. Let's go. Come on. I'm thinking, let's give E-Pace. E-Pace number what? Number 4? Hey, you know what? They heard me. They heard me. All right, last one. And then I'm going to need to sell some cars and I'll get back up to 17 mil. Let's see what we get from this bad boy. Let's go. Come on, give me something good. Give me another not E-Pace. I wouldn't mind an E-Pace. Give me a Sprint. Hey, we'll take an Ultra. We'll take an Ultra. That's a dub. That's a dub. That's fused material, but we'll take an Ultra. But anyway, as I always do with this kind of series, should you open the pack? Yeah, go for it. I mean, this is a pack that can help you in the Alfa Romeo, Portafoglio, Stelvio, whatever it's called, event. If you pull something good, it's definitely going to help you. I guess, especially for a beginner player, it might be the difference of tier 4 and tier 3. But yeah, go for it. I mean, you can open it with cash, so just grind clubs for a couple of minutes, and then you can open 1-2 packs. So that's pretty nice. But yeah, should you open it? Yes. Am I going to open it? I mean, you saw, I did. So I'm going to add all these cars. How many E-Paces? 1, 2, I think it's 3, right? It's just 3. Yeah, we got 3 E-Paces, a couple Astras, 1 Elise Sprint, and we'll take a cheeky little Range Rover Evoque. But anyway, I hope you guys have a great day. I hope you found this video helpful. Remember to stay safe, wash your hands, and blossom out. Peace.